You're listening to the Sports Circus, and I'm Mike Golick.
You can put it on the board! Yes!
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by Al's #1 Italian Beef. Yes, straight from Chicago, the original from 1917 when it was invented. Really, the first beef stand opened up back in 1938. It's the original. No, folks, it's not the Philly cheesesteak sandwich. No, this is the Italian beef sandwich from Chicago. In fact, it's one of Chicago's true culinary claims to fame, and no restaurant is more awarded or more closely associated with this iconic dish than Al's #1 Italian Beef. Yes! Their signature sandwich has won more culinary awards and received more recognition than just about any sandwich in Chicago or anywhere else in the world, including, I believe, that Philly cheesesteak sandwich. Check them out at goldbelly.com. Goldbelly.com. Just make sure you search for Al's #1 Italian Beef. You can just find it at Al's Italian Beef on goldbelly.com. In fact, if you're in Chicagoland or if you're anywhere in the reasonable drive area, that means within 500 miles, check them out at 1079 West Taylor in Chicago's Little Italy. 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago. Folks, it's worth the drive. It's my favorite. I don't get anything for saying this. Hell, maybe a beef sandwich here or there. But I have to tell you, folks, it is special. Truly special. Check them out at goldbelly.com for Al's #1 Italian Beef. Yes! How exciting. Boy, it's good stuff. We don't want to turn this into an infomercial. I'll talk about it later on in the show. All right, a big welcome to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast, from Honolulu all the way to L.A. to right here in Las Vegas, Atlanta, Auburn, Alabama, Columbus, Georgia, Montgomery, Alabama, Southwest Florida, all points in between, a whole bunch of television stations, all of our affiliates on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, Oceanic, cable affiliates, and Hotel TV in 500,000 plus rooms from coast to coast. We're going to talk a little bit of judges' ruling, right? Because judges' rulings are kind of a big deal, right? So as these big issues pop up, you ask yourself, in sports, what do they usually deal with? In my opinion, I see most of these judge rulings have something to do in some way with the Sherman Act. If you don't know what the Sherman Act is, that would essentially be monopolistic competition, et cetera, et cetera. So in this particular case, the judge's ruling grants all NCAA transfers temporary eligibility, paving the way for potential permanent change in a nightmare situation. I think that's the only way to say it. Honestly, folks. Now, a West Virginia judge has paved the way for college athletes to have more freedom in transferring schools, which I'm all for. But when you're doing it solely for athletics, I think that there's a problem because, hey, this school's paying more for this name, image, and likeness nonsense than another school, so let's go ahead and go there because we can make $1 million over there. That's what this is coming to. So Judge John P. Bailey granted a 14-day temporary restraining order during a hearing in West Virginia District Court. In fact, that was just yesterday, giving college athletes who have transferred more than once immediate eligibility, at least for the next 2 weeks, and potentially charting a course for more lawsuits from transfers seeking eligibility. All right, folks, before I get back to this story, I want to point something out here to you. So student athletes, just like all the other students, are essentially on winter break right now. And because they're on winter break, administration and administrative offices are essentially closed down for the holiday. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll say, all these student athletes are going to say, well, hey, I want to go get more money elsewhere. So I want to transfer to school XYZ from ABC. Now, if that is the case, don't you think out of the thousands, because I would anticipate, I don't know, tens of thousands of athletes, student athletes, I don't even want to call student in there, they're more athlete students. I would argue that if they have their postmark, kind of like getting your FAFSA in, which is your financial aid documents for students, I would argue that if they're going to have their documentation postmarked, then they're going to be allowed. So this could carry on, this transfer rule. I would suspect it will carry on all the way through the spring term. Why? Because some of these alleged documents will be posted or postmarked within this 2-week stretch. And then I can already see this now. Well, we didn't get a chance to do our mail-in, like the mail-in ballots, right? We didn't get a chance to do a mail-in application, whatever, and people will be crying poverty and all this other crap when they're trying to do what? They're trying to get NIL money, which they probably already have it. Now they're going to a different school to get more money. This is the kind of nonsense, as I see it, that's going to be a gigantic, horrific mess. Believe it, folks. It's likely going to get ugly, kind of like this latest PGA Tour Civil War. We'll get back to that in a little while. Anyway, I could see an enormous mess going on here. Now, the NCAA announced in a statement that it would follow the court's ruling. So, they say, as a result of today's decision impacting Division I student athletes, the association will not enforce the year in residency requirement for multiple time transfers and will begin notifying member schools. Close quote. Okay, let's break that down just a touch. Because it says it will not enforce the year in residency requirements. Okay, this is allegedly going to be in a 2-week period. But I can see as, just like we had with mail-in votes, well, we can't get to the polls, so you're going to have to mail them, etc. Well, we can't help it that the mail was slow during the holiday season. You see, this is going to be what's going to happen here, folks. It is going to be an enormous mess. So basically, these student athletes will have more than 2 weeks. I'm going to guesstimate just off the holiday mail glut, as they claim. They will claim it would be about 6 weeks. Imagine that. Because it takes a couple of weeks or so for the mail to catch up, so to say, when there's a glut, especially when it comes to bureaucracy, especially in state universities. Now, think, public universities act administratively a little bit different than private universities. They're funded differently, funded by taxpayer dollars. And when you rely on taxpayer dollars, you don't seem to have as much help in the offices because the taxpayers have a say in what goes on. And we'll take right here in this state of Nevada. We've got 2 public universities, one in Reno and one here in Las Vegas. And they are thin in personnel. So don't you think it would last certainly more than just 2 weeks? Now let's take Alabama, right? Home of WAUD, our friends down in Auburn, Alabama. First, nice round of applause. Montgomery, Alabama, all the way down to Columbus, Georgia. Right, so just between Auburn and Alabama, imagine how many student-athlete transfers you may see come and go. Never mind UAB, never mind South Alabama, and all the others. The reality is that there are many schools, many, that will have this problem just in the state of Alabama. I mean, there are scores of these, right? HBCUs, etc., who are undermanned, understaffed. They're going to need an extra month or so. So as I'm seeing this, folks, this is going to go from 2 weeks from yesterday, I'm going to guess till at least spring break. Yes, that is a cold, hard reality. Now, the NCAA continues to say this is not a permanent change to the NCAA transfer policy. Well, like hell it's not. The court's ruling is only applicable for 14 days. Really? Yeah, as we just discussed. It's going to be a lot longer than that, in my opinion. The ruling does not forecast for future seasons. The biggest impact appears to be on active transfers for winter sports like basketball, rather conveniently, who can now play over the next 2 weeks. So this is just a big steaming pile of BS. Now, our preliminary injunction hearing set for December 27th, when the judge is expected to make a more permanent ruling on the case. And what we could see here, well, there's going to have to be a continuation, folks, because there's just not enough data, not enough time, not enough manpower, So we're going to continue this to the second week of January, whatever. And then there will be another continuance, a request by the plaintiff side, another one by the defendant side, et cetera, et cetera. This is going to stretch and stretch. So they continue to say the ruling at least temporarily strikes down the NCAA's policy around athletes transferring for a second time or more. And why are they transferring? Let's think about that, folks.
Show me the money!
Under current rules, athletes are allowed to transfer once and play immediately at their new school. However, those transferring again need a waiver from the NCAA to play immediately or must sit out a year in what's called a year in residence. Well, none of that's going to be enforceable at this point, folks. In fact, the judge's ruling stops the NCAA from enforcing the year in residence rule in the first place for at least the next couple of weeks. And the ruling comes from a pair of lawsuits against the NCAA over transfer rules, one from West Virginia basketball player Raekwon Battle, seeking eligibility, and other from 7 different state attorney generals who want to see the organization's transfer policy eliminated. And the two cases were consolidated, and a hearing was held yesterday in front of Bailey, a U.S. District Court judge in the Northern District of West Virginia. Folks, this is one gigantic smokescreen, and it's all predicated on money. How sad is it that college has turned to just straight business and sports, public schools largely? Back here in a few minutes on The Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify, even if your credit is not money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Al Bubba Baker, quarterback breaker and the rib maker.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at uppercutchops.com. Check out their tasty selection, all-natural, dry-aged Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all, those jumbo, massive, cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Clearly the best I've ever had. Probably be the best you ever had as well. Check them out at uppercutchops.com and find out what's for dinner. That's uppercutchops.com, or give them a call. You may want to talk to them. Call them at 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for uppercutchops.com. Yes! Get your holiday rib roast and massive steaks and big burgers and, oh man, prime Wagyu. Folks, if you've never had it, hell, the only thing you need on those is salt and pepper. Just season to taste like that. Believe me, you put it on the grill. You don't put it over the big fire. No, because you don't want to do that. You have to cook this a little bit slower. But folks, if you've never had it, it is truly something special. Kind of like Al's Italian beef. Same thing. Check out uppercutchops.com. All of the selections, believe me, it is amazing. So we're doing a little bit of food discussion and when we come back from the breaks because, number one, the selections that we have, these are our partners. These are our friends. Again, we don't get any money for this. All we want to do is share great advice on food with you. Nothing wrong with that, folks. All right. Well, here's a interesting little tidbit. So you may have heard, of course, unless you were, I don't know, sleeping under a rock for the last several days, that Shohei Ohtani had signed with the LA Dodgers for $700 million. And I had alluded to in the last segment, or better yet, the last show, I was talking about the injury for Shohei Ohtani. I mean, look, the guy's a good ball player. He certainly isn't the best ball player, meaning he's not the best at his position, whether at the plate nor on the pitcher's mound. I think that's crystal clear. He's good on both, but he's not the best. But people say, well, he pitches and he hits. So what? A left fielder plays his position and he hits, and he does it every day. But he plays his position every day. A first baseman, a catcher, probably the most important position on the baseball diamond. The catcher plays his position every game and also hits. So how somebody can be an MVP when they're a designated hitter, meaning they're only playing one side of the ball, they're not playing defense and offense, right? As a pitcher, when Shohei Ohtani is pitching, yeah, he will also hit. So he's basically doing the same thing as a shortstop, a third baseman, a catcher, whatever, playing offense and defense. But Shohei Ohtani is not the best player in baseball. No, I mean, arguably the best player in baseball is Ronald Acuna Jr. with the Atlanta Braves. Of course, we're on home of the Atlanta Braves in Auburn, Alabama, WAUD 1230. WAUD 1230. And I can assure you that many other ball players would say the same thing if they could speak off the record. Yes, the guy is good. He's not $700 million good. Nonetheless, this whole injury thing, it's clear that it is a Tommy John related or Tommy John surgery, but of course, no. According to the headlines, Shohei Ohtani and his agent say his UCL procedure wasn't Tommy John surgery. Well, that's kind of a neat trick, isn't it? So this is out of LA. Pick your favorite outlet here. We'll go through CBS Sports. Throughout Shohei Ohtani's free agency, a question that has gone completely unanswered was the exact nature of the elbow surgery the two-way player underwent at the end of the season. Now, it was publicly known that Ohtani had a torn UCL in his pitching elbow and underwent surgery to fix it, which would keep him from pitching in the 2024 season. Usually, it can be concluded from those facts that a player had Tommy John surgery, a replacement of the UCL that usually knocks a player out for a year. Sounds rather consistent, doesn't it? Sounds beyond a reasonable doubt, or 88% that is likely true. However, that didn't seem to be the case with Ohtani, according to reports, who was still able to land a record-shattering 10-year, $700 million deal with the Dodgers. Now, I like the Dodgers. My uncle played with the Dodgers. I root for the Dodgers. I think this is an awful, awful move. Now, his agent, Nez Bolillo, confirmed only that Dr. Neil, let's call him Dr. Neil, Elatrache, had performed a procedure on Ohtani's elbow. Okay, so if that's the case, what the heck was performed? That's what inquiring minds want to know. So the topic was one of the first questions to come up, of course, as it would in a news conference. It's the first thing you want to talk about because this guy's going to be on the shelf. He can't pitch. Of course, he can hit, which is compromising the ulnar nerve in the first place. Anyway, when asked to confirm he had undergone Tommy John surgery, Ohtani declined and indicated the surgery was different from what was known as Tommy John. Now, how the heck is that when all the signs point to it? Now, Ohtani says, quote, "I'm not obviously an expert in the medical field, but I mean, it was a procedure. I'm not sure what it's called. I know it's completely different from my first time, so I don't know what you want to call it. Probably talk to my doctor about that." Okay, all righty then. So Ohtani's doctor wasn't available. How convenient. Oh, yeah, but his agent was, though. So in a scrub with reporters after Ohtani's Q&A, Bolillo said that his client had undergone a more uncommon surgery that has him recovering much faster than his Tommy John surgery in 2018. Okay, so a reporter had asked Nez Bolillo directly about the surgery that Ohtani had. And he said, "It has no name." That's how uncommon it is. And his progress so far is ahead of typical Tommy John surgery timetable for recovery. All right, now another one says, Nez Bolillo on the nature of Shohei Ohtani's procedure. Quote, "There's no name for the surgery. It's completely different than the last time." Okay, now if that is the case, if there's no name for the surgery, I just want to know one thing. There's Dr. Neil Elatrache, who had performed this surgery in the first place. Okay, if there's no name for it and he's just basically doing a trial and error or exploratory surgery, which I've had one of those on my back, the thing that confuses me, how can you actually perform something on an alleged, we'll just say a $1 billion human being with Ohtani's endorsements and all this other stuff? I mean, the guy is worth some mad amount of money, right? My question is, if you don't know what it is that you're actually performing or even what the name of it is, you ask yourself, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, nobody sees it, does it exist? I just want to know, does that surgery have does it have another name? Does it have another classification? Or is it like a symbol, like, I don't know, how Prince changed his name to a symbol? I don't know. I mean, what are we talking about here? All they're saying is, oh, it doesn't have a name. Okay, so the exact nature of the procedure remains unclear, allegedly, but yet apparently they fixed it. And then apparently he's recovering ahead of schedule or some BS like that. So what's really going on? This is terrible media spin. But of course, it's worth noting that El Atrache recently received attention in the football world for pioneering a new technique to repair a torn Achilles, in which a brace is placed on the damaged ligament to aid healing. The New York Jets quarterback for Aaron Rodgers, of course, is ahead of schedule, alleged, whatever. The reality is that it appears a second Tommy John surgery is notoriously different and difficult, I should say, to recover from, with increases in both recovery time and failure rate. So Ohtani avoiding a second go-around would be good news, of course, for the Dodgers. That just could basically, I would say, set $700 million on fire. And of course, that's assuming the surgery doesn't create similar issues, though. So what are we really talking about here? This is media spin, folks. This is how the media changes stuff. And this is how the doctors will manipulate the media so they get what they want. They get a story, they get something to report, and the doctors typically don't reveal anything. Now, they go on to say Ohtani at least seems confident he will be ready for opening day as a hitter, which isn't a guarantee, of course, when a hitter undergoes an elbow surgery in the first place. But the problem is that elbow surgery does what? It tweaks the ulnar nerve every time you swing. 600 at-bats on average, we'll say, for him, times maybe 2 to 3 swings. We'll just call it 3 swings per at-bat. That's 1,800 swings to slowly damage that ulnar nerve. Plus batting practice. We'll say 2,000 swings. Sorry, something is definitely wrong in Stinkyville. And of course, Ohtani said, I've been taking dry hacks or dry swings for the last week, so I'm on a really good pace to be ready for opening day as long as I can get into spring training as scheduled and be able to play in exhibition games. I think I'll be fully ready to go as a hitter on opening day, close quote. That is a big bunch of piling, steaming, nonsensical cow dung, as I see it. The Dodgers have been played for $700 million by Shohei Ohtani and the gang, and that money's going to disappear. The Dodgers are going to be left holding the bag. What an awful deal for the Dodgers. That is ridiculous. And that has an effect on Kershaw. We're going to talk about that when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
If you are trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more.
800-957-6209. 800-957-6209. 800-957-6209. That's 800-957-6209.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. You've got to remember to do your testing and always need to stick your fingers to test your blood sugar. The new way to live your life with diabetes is with a continuous glucose monitor. Apply a discrete sensor on your body, and it continuously monitors your glucose levels, helping you spend more time in range and freeing you from painful finger sticks. If you are living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes and you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you might be eligible for a CGM through your insurance benefits. U.S. Med partners with over 500 private insurance companies and Medicare. We offer free shipping, 90-day supplies, and we bill your insurance. Call us today for a free benefits check.
800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment is brought to you in part by our friends over at Al's Italian Beef. Al's #1 Italian beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. And if you can't make it there to get one of those incredible Italian beef sandwiches, not to be confused with that Philly cheesesteak sandwich that is very middle of the road, the Italian beef sandwich is truly a masterpiece. You could check them out at goldbelly.com. Al's Italian Beef. Al's #1 Italian beef on goldbelly.com. We're going to play a little segment on that in just a little bit here, but I want to finish up with this Ohtani and Kershaw thing. Oh, by the way, a big welcome back to everybody on TV and radio. You know who you are. Everybody's streaming also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or X, call it what you will. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow on Instagram. We are TSC Show. On X or Twitter, we are at the Sports Circus. And on Facebook, we are Sports Circus. Yes! That's my patented yes! Nobody else does that. And if they do, you heard it here first. All right, so we talked about Ohtani and this awful business transaction that the Dodgers made. And look, folks, I'm a fan of the Dodgers, but I have to tell you, what a terrible decision in my opinion. So because of this deal, well, it would occur to me that Clayton Kershaw is saying, you know what? I want in on this. I'm only 35 years old. And so, I mean, guys can pitch into their 40s. I mean, look, come on. Look at Justin Verlander. The guy is still effective, and he's getting up there. Look at Max Scherzer. Very effective, and he's getting up there. These guys are both years older than Clayton Kershaw. So what does that mean? Clayton Kershaw is due for another payday, and it might be a sizable one if maybe he gets himself a 3-year deal or something like that. I don't know. Who knows? Contract extension. I don't know. Who the hell knows? My point is, Clayton saying, you know what? I'd like to see a little bit of that lettuce. Why don't you throw it my way? And he said yesterday that he is undecided about his playing future and remains in the process of discussing his plans for the 2024 season with his wife. And says, of course, he told AM 570 LA Sports, quote, I'm excited to get back after the surgery and throw a ball and have it not hurt, close quote. I know that one. It hurts. When you're hurt, believe me, it is tough to throw. You tend to short arm the ball. You don't get the velocity on it because you don't want to extend. And it folks, it really hurts. And it is no picnic. I can assure you that. Anyway, the Dodgers and Clayton Kershaw, of course, had that big surgery for him, that glenohumeral ligaments, and, of course, capsule in his left shoulder repaired. And that was literally a month ago, days after he became an unrestricted free agent. So I would suspect that Clayton will probably sign a 1-year deal with maybe a 3-year deal with a team option after the first year. I mean, that makes the most sense, I would imagine. But Clayton will probably make himself $20 million just because his numbers are pretty good. But the shoulder injury caused him to miss 6 weeks in 2023. But the Dodgers are short on pitching. And, of course, they've looked at Tyler Glasnow and a couple of others. Tyler's a good one. The problem is Tyler can't seem to stay healthy, in my opinion. I don't know. I look at his total innings pitched and games started, and it's a little questionable. So, I mean, look, after returning from the injury list back in August, Clayton made 9 starts the rest of the regular season and did not pitch more than 5 1/3 in any of them. That's embarrassing. Of course, now with to me, it's embarrassing anyway, because a starting pitcher should go no less than 7 innings as I see it. His only postseason appearance saw him give up 6 runs and record only 1 out in the first inning of the game. Basically, it was the first inning of the Dodgers division series lost to the inevitable nationally champion Arizona Diamondbacks. So his 2023 season, he had 131 innings pitched, 131 2/3, good ERA at 2.46, WHIP 1.06, that's walks and hits per innings pitched, strikeouts 137 walks 40. Very good ratios, good stuff. And of course, when asked in November about Kershaw's future with the franchise, Andrew Friedman, the Dodger president of baseball operations, said the team absolutely would welcome the veteran pitcher back. So look, it's going to happen. And of course, Friedman said the ball's in his court, basically Kershaw's family. So Clayton joked, of course, about the Ohtani signing, of course, giving him a little gasoline to throw on the fire. And he said, quote, "It's just so much money, isn't it? This is crazy. But I think he's unique talent. I don't think there's anyone like him. And once he starts pitching again, everybody wants to watch it. You know, I want to watch it," close quote. But Clayton said a mouthful when it said, "It's just so much money, isn't it?" That tells you exactly, in my opinion, what he's probably thinking. He's probably saying, "Give me mine, man." He's probably saying, "Show me the money!" Oh, yeah, hell, I'd be doing the same thing. And Clayton's got pretty good numbers. And if you take a look at what Clayton's done, in the grand scheme of things, you say, all right, Clayton, you've had a very solid career. Very solid. And, I mean, end of day, the guy's he started 422 games, 210 wins, 92 losses. Pretty good numbers. 25 complete games, 15 shutouts, 2,712 innings pitched, only given up 2,055 hits, 816 runs, 747 earned runs. He's given up 225 home runs and 669 walks. That's pretty good. But now let's look at this for a minute. So you want to compare apples and apples, apples and oranges. Let's take a look at the complete games. He has 25 complete games. Is he a Hall of Fame pitcher, you say? In today's standards, probably, because it seems like everything's watered down. But you look at the list of Hall of Famers, and boy, they are extensive, and you look at their complete game totals, right? The starting pitcher. That's what we want. I mean, hell, even a reliever, Rich Gossage, had 16 complete games. Hoyt Wilhelm had 20, right? So these were not your classics. Tom Glavine had 56. John Smoltz had 53. So these are your more recent ones. Roy Halladay had 67. The big unit, Randy Johnson, had 100 complete games. Even Dennis Eckersley was the starting pitcher. Most people don't know that. And then he went to relieving. So Dennis Eckersley even has 100 complete games. Babe Ruth has 107 complete games. Shohei Ohtani, let's see you top that one, kid. Greg Maddux with 109, right? Sandy Koufax, 137 complete games. Now we're going up the ladder here. Whitey Ford, 156. Dizzy Dean, 154. The great Don Drysdale, 167 complete games. Jack Morris of the Tigers, 175 complete games. You see where we're going here, folks? Don Sutton from the Dodgers, 178. Catfish Hunter, 181. Bob Lemon, 188. Jim Palmer, 211. And we keep going. Nolan Ryan, the Ryan Express, 222 complete games. These are bona fide Hall of Famers. The great Tom Seaver, 231 complete games. And we keep marching up. The best curveball I've ever seen in my life. Burt Blyleven, 242 complete games. Juan Marichal, 244. The great Steve Carlton, 254 complete games. Bob Gibson, the fireballer on the St. Louis Cardinals, 255 complete games. And we keep going on and on. We're going to keep going up the list here. Why? Because we can. Bob Feller, 279 completies. Early Win, 289. The Great Lefty Grove, 298. Gaylord Perry, 303. As we keep going on with these complete games, the numbers get bigger and bigger and crazier, right? We go all the way to Walter Johnson, one of the best in the history, 531 complete games. And all the way up to Cy Young. That's why he has a trophy named after him, the award. 749 complete games. That is insane. And out of all of those, you look at the total innings pitched. Cy Young with 7,356 innings pitched. Clayton Kershaw is at 2,000 and change, and at the end of his career. Even Phil Niekro had 5,400 innings pitched. And we think about those. And obviously when it comes to wins, usually the magic number is 300. Right? That's kind of a fair statement. But some of these guys, they go, all the way down. Let's see, Cy Young with 511 511 wins, all the way down to the 300 club, which basically cuts off at Lefty Grove and Early Win. And right below there is Burt Blyleven with 287. And guess what? Clayton Kershaw only has 210 wins. Is he a bona fide Hall of Famer? According to those numbers, not even close. But Clayton Kershaw is a very, very good pitcher. By the way, all those ERAs of these guys in the low to mid twos and low threes. And Clayton is right there. Clayton is one hell of a pitcher. He will get into the Hall of Fame, no question, because he does have a World Series. And he is very dependable. The problem is he just doesn't pitch long enough. And so the Dodgers are going to have to do more for the bullpen. And so they got a lot of work to do. They're going to have to really spend big. Lucky Ohtani deferred some of that $700 million contract so they could sign other players. And good for him. Ohtani was being kind of good about that. Wasn't being too terribly greedy. But ultimately, the Dodgers are not the Dodgers at this point. The Atlanta Braves are still the best team in the National League. No question. And of course, the world champion, Texas Rangers, are the best team in baseball as we stand today. Back in a few minutes on the Circus. Lots more to come.
Can't beat fun at the old ballpark, friends. High pop fly. That would be a home run and a phone booth. I know what the big deal about Cracker Jack is. Did you ever go and buy a pack of Cracker Jack thinking you're going to get a prize and find no prize in the box? Here's the pitch. That might not sound important to some people, but when you're a little kid, especially from humble origin, and they cheat you out of a prize, there's a bouncing ball. Second baseman has a Barbary over to first. It's hard to think in laudatory terms of the product.
I think that there was an occasional box of Cracker Jacks that found no prizes for the little Harry Carey many years ago.
You got that right. And boy, when a box of Cracker Jack to me meant a lot of money. Here's a pitch, bounce foul. That's the most asinine marketing I've ever heard of. 1 ball, 1 strike. These guys say, well, you sing about Cracker Jack. I said that I only sing it because it's in the song. Here's a pitch foul back. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised, even to this day, some youngsters who buy a box of Cracker Jack don't find a prize in the box. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 out. Well, if you're going to talk about our congressman being crooked, here's a pitch foul out of play. Why not talk about commercial products who don't do what they represent to do?
There's a smash to Squires. He's got it. 1, 2, 3, nothing across. We're going to the bottom of the 7th now to score. All tied up. Milwaukee 4, the White Sox 4. Hey! Everybody! All right, Nancy, let me hear you. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the ground. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I ever get back for his root. Root for the White Sox. If they don't win, it's a shame. Or it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. There's a drive, way back. It might be, it could be, and it is. Holy cow! This crowd is wild.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Tom Brenneman. How do you not love that music?
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, make sure to check out the sportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, and all of our partners over there. Of course, lots of great partners. One of those is the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Yes! All right, welcome back to everybody on TV, radio, our CBS, NBC, Fox Sports affiliates, and independents from coast to coast. Everybody on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, and Time Warner and Wow Cable affiliates for television. Also Hotel TV in all 210 Nielsen-rated markets. Oh, yeah, that's really good stuff, folks. All right, how about a little golf for your soul? Because we don't do a whole lot of golf. How about this? The latest PGA Tour situation. How about this one? How about the PGA Tour tax filing reveal a true cost of golf's Civil War? How do you like them apples? So what? This is according to golf.com. Golf actually has a Civil War? What? There's a Civil War cost? What? And yes, it's a lot. Oh, could you be more specific, please? Sure, they say. So yesterday, Sportico published a report detailing its findings from the latest round of the PGA Tour's tax filings for the fiscal year 2022, and they were a doozy. For the first time since the start of the war between the PGA Tour and Live Golf, the report offered a glimpse into the financial toll the war has taken on the world's largest professional tour. The biggest piece of that toll appears to have been legal fees, an area that has proven to be more than just a bugaboo for the tour after Liv's entrance into the marketplace compelled the tour to administer fines and suspensions. Several of Liv's players, the rival league itself, and the Justice Department each filed legal queries against the tour. Some of those squabbles spilled into the courtroom, leading to now infamous cases such as Phil Mickelson et al. Versus the PGA Tour. In fact, the tour was successful in those battles and eventually squashed its legal woes by signing a framework agreement. Yes, a framework agreement with the Saudi investment fund that dropped all suits, quote, with prejudice, close quote, meaning they cannot be renegotiated or brought back into existence. They cannot revive them. But the cost of legal fees in 2022 alone was $20.5 million, or more than 10 times what the tour spent on legal fees in the year previous. According to Sportico's report, the tour's legal fees in 2022 were more than the previous 14 years of legal fees for the tour combined. Imagine that. Now, the data represents a striking look into the financial havoc wreaked by Liv's arrival, a development that not only pushed Tour's playing model to the brink, but also threatened to drive up the cost considerably away from the course. Under U.S. tax code, the Tour is legally required to submit tax filing each year outlining its businesses to show its adherence to the 501c3 tax-exempt status, right? So all of us taxpayers get to participate in that. We can actually get that information too if we wanted. Those filings, which aren't released to the public until a year after they're submitted, often include a word salad of data points and legal jargon, but also a few key pieces of the data about the Tour's finances, overall fiscal health, and even its executive compensation, right? Which is fair play because that is the notion of a 501c3, a nonprofit organization. Now, given the public nature of the filing, the Tour has been relatively forthcoming with data about the state of its business over the years. Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan has spoken at length about the complexities of the Tour business in his dealings with the press, providing detailed explanation about some of the Tour's more controversial forms of financial gymnastics, like the tens of millions places in strategic reserves. On the business side, Tour leadership has had no qualms sharing top-line details of complex agreements like TV rights, etc. So, in the era of Live, though money in golf has become heavily politicized, players have left the Tour for purported 8- and 9-figure sums while simultaneously accusing the Tour of swindling them of hard-earned cash. The Tour has responded in kind with the creation of signature event series and engaging in talks with private equity partners, including the PIF, which could infuse the Tour with billions of dollars of new cash. But it remains to be seen how those changes would affect the Tour's bottom line. Now, one of the things we do know is how the developments of the last few years have affected Monahan's pockets. According to the filings, the commissioner pulled in $18.6 million in 2022, up $5 million from the year prior. Now, surely the conversation surrounding Monahan's compensation will be an unpopular one amongst the contingent of Live defectors, particularly in the face of yet another high-paid executive ranking in cash while his company flounders. Now, we've seen a lot of that across the U.S. Well, guess what? This is no different. And this is a nonprofit. But it's hardly unusual to see Monahan's salary as high as it is, particularly not in the modern era of sports executive compensation. In fact, to his $65 million per year, the NFL counterpart, Roger Goodell's Monahan's salary looks like chump change. How does Roger Goodell make $65 million? Oh, yeah, that's right. I believe it's to keep him out of the way of business. Now, that makes a little bit of sense, doesn't it? On the whole, the Tour's latest filing shows a snapshot of a business at war. Revenues are up, in large part driven by media rights deals, basically TV contracts, folks. $715 million annually from U.S. partners alone through the end of the decade. But so are the other costs, which present an existential issue for the league on a relatively fixed income. Now, of course, we won't learn about this until next year because, of course, we have to wait for the filings. But, folks, this is one gigantic, and I mean ginormous problem for the PGA Tour, and of course, it's contingent. So Liv has come in here, throw around its Saudi Arabian money, all its oil money, and said, we're going to do everything we want. We're bigger and badder and richer, so we can do what the hell we want to do. Folks, that is what a war is all about, and unfortunately, that's a war without weapons. All right, we're going to get back to our friends over at Al's Italian Beef. Why? I mean, look, I'm thinking about food. I'm thinking about these sandwiches. And we had a real nice clip here with Chris Pacelli, who is the owner of Al's Italian Beef. I mean, look, for 85 years, there's 85th anniversary. These guys are doing some wonderful things. Of course, they've got their packages. Pick up 8 sandwiches and a limited edition T-shirt, whatever, for a certain amount of money. Check them out at goldbelly.com for more information. I'm not trying to sell nothing. I'm just telling you what they've got here. But this is kind of fun. I'm going to have a T-shirt from them. They're going to be sending me one. It's the old OG cotton T-shirt that features El Ferrari, founder of the city's true original. El Baba Black Sheep Ferrari originally opened up the beef stand as a front to a bookie joint, and it doesn't get any more Chicago than that, right? Now, it didn't take long for Baba to realize that he could make hella money selling Italian beef sandwiches instead of booking bets and have to play the middle, waiting for the vig. So they've got a T-shirt, a really cool T-shirt, and the T-shirt itself, I can't really read it, but I have to tell you, it is a cool one. Go to goldbelly.com and search for Al's #1 Italian beef or Al's beef, and you'll find it. In the meantime, I want to play you this. This was kind of a fun little segment. We're going to play it until the end of the show. So enjoy this one, folks. This is a lot of fun.
Chris is through.
Okay. Chris, identify yourself for the world to listen.
Well, my name's Chris Pacelli from Al's Italian Beef on Taylor Street.
That's right.
In Chicago.
All right, let's give Al's Italian Beef an enormous round of applause. Yes! It's the best damn Italian beef sandwich in the city.
Well, throughout the state, too, in the country.
All right, well, I will tell everybody more about Al's Italian Beef and where you're at. Everybody wants to hear the story because, everybody I tell, they say, oh, well, Portillo's got a good sandwich. I like Johnny's sandwich, but it's not what Al's has. Al's is a different animal. You guys have been at it for 80 years.
Well, a little longer than that. My grandfather invented it back in...
By the way, folks, I have to pause that for a minute. The first person that emails the address for Al's Italian Beef, Al's #1 Italian Beef in Chicago, and I've said it a couple times in the show, and you probably went to the website, the first person will get 8 sandwiches and one of those OG T-shirts. Yes! Yes! All right, continuing on with this fun interview real quick.
1918. He was a street peddler. And what he did was go to all these construction sites, and he would serve sandwiches. But it wasn't Italian beef. It was like sub-sandwiches. And then, because there was no restaurants in them days, only the rich went to restaurants. And the poor people that had to work jobs and construction sites had to rely on lunches that they brought themselves. Or when my grandfather supplied some sandwiches and soda. Anyway, he gets invited to a wedding one day, and they used to have peanut weddings. And what happened at this peanut wedding, they used to serve a roast beef, and they were cutting it with a knife, and they were feeding like maybe 20, 25 people. My grandfather started thinking about, he's a sandwich guy now, and he starts thinking, how could I increase this? So he goes back home, he starts putting spices together, things like that, cooks it up. The next day, it's all cooled down, he trims it, takes all the fat off and everything. And since he had sandwiches, he had a slicer, so he started slicing everything paper thin, where you could almost see through it.
Right.
And he presented it to the party. And from feeding 25 people, went to 50 people. Same cost, same everything. So that's how that started. And he kept that tradition up until around 1938, when my uncle opened it as a front for a bookie place.
All right, let's give him a big round of applause for that. Hey, the bookie places are still in business.
You guys will appreciate that.
Yes.
It was a little bit before Las Vegas.
That's right. We had our own Vegas back in Chicago on Taylor Street, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
I try to tell this guy Tommy that. Listen, Chris, I try to tell Tommy that. He goes, well, this was, he was making an example of betting and so forth, and sports betting and this and that. I mean, the NFL was founded on that 100 years ago. But I said, listen, man, everybody in the Italian neighborhoods had a casino in their basement.
Oh, yeah, or a dice game, one or the other.
Exactly. There's always a dice game or a card game, wasn't there?
Well, you're right. There was. And we used to, by the handball courts, there was always dice games in the back and by the, where there's a a place called the Rosebud today, cafe.
I know the Rosebud,
Well,
of course.
Italian restaurant.
That's good
And
food.
behind there used to be, before they had that, behind there was a place where everybody used to gamble. It was called Garibaldi Square, and that was like Taylor and Ashland at the time. And that was just one of the places. Then there was Sheridan Park, and there was a lot of places that did a lot of dice.
Hey, I
But,
remember. Listen, Chris, I remember a dice game over at Western and Harrison. You know, my old man was from that neighborhood.
Well, sure. That's where my uncle used to go to. There was, I'm trying to Luca Bakery.
Yeah, and over at the Rosary Florist, too. Remember the Rosary Florist?
Yes, sure.